Confirmation of proper notice.
Proper notice. It was posted last week according to statutory requirements.
All right, roll call.
I won't need
The
it
ones
for,
that are
this is
here.
a
We don't need a
workshop.
workshop.
Yeah.
All right, all right. My comments. We can leave that for the meeting.
Yep.
Review of the minutes.
That'll be done. at the
That'll
meeting.
be done the meeting. And this will go quick. Financial matters.
Same way, we don't have the statement yet, but I have it
Treasurer's
this
report,
afternoon.
accounts receivable, legal problems, hurricane development.
I think we ought to talk about that a minute if anybody
Yeah.
wants to. We will talk about it at the meeting, but obviously everybody has a pretty good idea of what transpired by just looking outside your windows, doors. Over 100 trees were impacted. Some very, very big and valuable trees came down, particularly behind 476. We lost a mega banyan. We lost a mega jacaranda. It went through her window, which was probably the most damage we had. So we're very fortunate as far as buildings. We've replaced her screens and we're working on the window for her. We had two other roof minor hits. 225, no, 265, I'm sorry, 265 had a tree come down and cut the surface of the lanai. Manson came out the next day and that was fixed. It was minor in big comparisons. 506 had the same thing, a tree come down and hit it just above, actually hit the stairs, hit the upper landing and landed on the roof. With all that happening, it was still minor damage as far as to the structure. Today, we even found one more tree. And so two trees were taken down in 800 today by our staff. A palm tree that was completely, it was about 35 feet tall, and it was just standing up beside its root. It just got moved over and was leaning on the building. So Eddie and the boys chopped it in half today. We had another large bottle brush that was falling into the roof of 816, and we got to check to see if there's anything because we were just able to get that off the roof. We had a Norfolk pine, one of those about 80 footers, came down on 514. It actually came down on the parapet wall between the lower part of 514 and the higher part of 516. If it was going to fall anywhere, that was the place it fell. It fell on the most secure structure. It damaged the probably one of the cement blocks, and that's about it. A mega removal job. As the people who watched, they said it was almost like Agent Orange, that picture by Stanley Kubrick, because the guy had to shimmy up just like he did on a rocket all the way to almost to the 80th foot and take it off in little pieces so it wouldn't drop on the roof.
Wow.
And it ultimately, it took almost a full day to remove off the surface of the roof, but we did not break the roof.
People who saw that go down said it went down in slow mo.
Yeah.
Just
As every other one did, really.
because of the roots,
The roots
just
are holding
slowly
it.
held it. and-
Was
Yeah.
there one on somewhere around 714, 11 or something like that? Marion and Allison place, I can't remember the number, but it's over by me. It looks like it's down over the courtyard.
Could be. Nothing is touching buildings anymore.
So it's already.
But they're working in the 700s today, so any of that will be cleared. We had a big tree next to Peter Ferentz here, 343 or whatever his was, that came across. It was a oak. And it took 11 of us that next day from the hurricane to get out there and cut it and move it so people could get to the office.
I have pictures of
Yeah,
y'all.
Barbara was out there sweeping and Tammy was out there taking pictures and Steve was being president.
I was throwing heavy logs.
He was throwing heavy logs and doing a heck of a good job.
We
And
have banners.
all in all, outside of the fact that we still have debris, we came through it relatively undamaged. We have stacked up everything. The boys are starting to work in the back now, and particularly the buildings between the 800s and the 700s. There's several big tree limbs down there that we have to cut up and put together. I've contacted every agency known to man to try to get relief to pick up our debris so we wouldn't have to be inured with that cost. Nobody will come. We are a condominium and or apartment building. The county will not come in. And as you know, we pay a separate vendor to pick up the debris, and it saves us considerable amount of money for the county fees. So that's why they don't come in for regular times. I talked to FEMA. They're not picking up anything for wind-blown problems. Anything that they're going to deal with is flood. So we've got 2 of our tree contractors will be coming back in at the latest Thursday, at the earliest tomorrow, start removing debris
At an incremental cost.
at a cost.
John,
One more
John?
second, one more second. Yeah, last thing. So far in the tree trimming and lowering and removal, we've spent 19,900. Go ahead, George.
have you spoken to Edith since Friday?
Oh, sure.
Okay, because she called me Friday and wanted to know if I was going to go to the meeting and find out what's happening with her window. But I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, the screens, all of our screens have been replaced.
Yeah.
And we're looking to see if we can find her a window. But yeah,
Okay.
we dealt with that Monday morning.
Okay, as long as you, I'm glad you spoke to her because she wanted me to find out at the meeting what was going on with her window and everything. And I said I would, so,
Yeah, and you fulfilled your promise. Very good.
right.
Any injuries, physical injuries to people?
We're very fortunate in the fact that, to our knowledge, there was none.
That's good.
Very fortunate to, even when you start thinking about the clearing and the jumping and the dumping and everything else, it's really truly amazing that what we went through.
That's great.
What was our cost last time we had a hurricane?
The last hurricane, we spent over $94,000.
Do you see that as what we're gonna pay now? or
No, no. First of all, we had about $20,000 worth of roof damage last time, which is going to be negligible this time. It's going to be how much the debris removal is going to be add on to the 19.9. We'll have to see there. I don't see it maybe getting over 35, maybe.
How about our carports?
We do have some carport damage, and we're going to have to look at in the future possibly amending the way the carport roofs are attached, and or we do have at least 4 owners, maybe 5, that have some scratching to their car that they've basically given me initial report, but nothing other than in the beginning. Jim has been tacking up what he can. We've talked about various different things, Steve and I, as far as possibly thinking about going with the thinner vinyl maybe next time, or certainly better than the staples that are holding up the stuff right now. And it was also interesting in finding some of the ceiling material that came down. It was never really securely anchored. They had screws in it, but they missed where they're supposed to screw into. And so that was a culprit in a couple of them. Tammy.
The last hurricane that we had, when we had a lot of wind damage and some of the carport aluminum came down, next to mine, that one had come down and they had riveted. And I looked at it this time and it looked excellent, like it held firm.
Yeah. Well, anytime we've done any work, we've done it, but the original work
The
went up
original,
with staples,
yeah.
you know, and there's a lot of it there.
Yeah.
A lot of it there. And so couple things to bring forward to the board. Now we have, and we'll get into the reserves later on, but presently in the current reserve package, we have in the fund itself, we have $10,000 for storm cleanup. And I always, of course, ask the board before I make any deductions from the reserves, but I will be asking you on Monday to consider paying a portion of this tree removal and debris cut down out of that $10,000. I mean, because the operating fund will not support it. There's no question about that.
Will the remainder be coming out of the operating?
Well, we
fund?
also want to talk about something else. Well, it would almost have to
Yes.
unless.
Yeah.
And here again, when we get to reserves, we'll take a look at it and what jumps out. What jumped out to me is when you start looking at what fund may be somewhat larger than needs to be at the present time. And I don't mean a 20-year roof fund because we don't want to mess with that because the 15 or 16 years are going to be here before we know it. But we have a fund with about $60,000, $65,000 to replace sidewalks. Well, I don't see much sidewalk replacing outside of the two panels, I mean, we lost two panels or two slabs
Sections, yeah.
in front of 506 where the roof came, when the roofs came up went the sidewalk. But I think that there's some monies there that we should consider using to offset some of these expenses because we're just not going to spend $65,000 on sidewalks in the next 10 years that I would think of. So there is some money we can have, and you have the right to do that because this is a pooled reserve.
We don't see anything that we're gonna have to not do because of having to pay for storm damage. I think we're in pretty good shape on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
remainder of the projects.
What's going to happen next is try to get all the debris out of here. And then we still got to worry about some of the stumps that are hanging up at angles. Steve has suggested that I jump on some of them so that they'll come back and to a better level.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you better hurry up before you.
Yeah.
lose a lot of weight.
Yeah, I better do it quick,
Before you
right?
lose-
Hey.
yeah, before you lose it.
Anyway, we're gonna try to level some of that stuff off, but we'll still have some pretty darn good stumps and we might have a pretty good expense of grinding.
How
So-
is our lake issue in regards to the piping and stuff that we were running?
Fortunate, right now, everything's okay, nothing,
Did you ever find any clogs in the pipe?
well, the hurricane came.
Yeah, hurricane came and we
But
got off. that.
everything did drain out
Yes.
and the catch basin is clean, so it's a project that still has to be dealt with, but it's not quite on the front burner as it was.
I noticed they had the pump over here from that big diesel pump thing hooked up, but right after the hurricane.
That was over a while
What was that
too.
about? Like they were pumping the lake out or something?
No, we're over on Oakview
Yeah,
Drive.
right over there by, right on the edge where our cameras are. Right there in front of,
Behind the emergency vet?
No, but that
No,
lake.
Oakview.
Oakview, it was on Oakview, yeah.
yeah,
That was an emergency generator to run the lift station.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If the lift station didn't run, we'd all be running.
yes.
Can I- John, so, I mean, I would agree, if we have that flexibility to use that money, I mean, we basically only label emergency storm repair, that fund. That's really for one bad hurricane to come through.
Yeah,
And yet we have an entire season to deal with,
well, you're right, and we have to maybe
We've been
relook at
lucky.
that, yeah.
so.
Yeah, but you're right. That's a good point. I mean, and obviously because of insurance and everything else, our operating budget was strapped to start with. So we don't want to hit it beyond any means whatsoever. So, yeah, I think that when we look at it, a little bit later, when we get into the reserves, we can talk about how much money you want to move because you have the right to do that without owner approval because it's not in specific fund balance. Any other questions about hurricane? The only other scary thing is the fact that, we're gonna fight a hell of a
Oh,
insurance increase, but now we don't even know if that's even valid. What it's gonna be from,
really hit
I
us
mean,
hard.
we were told 30%. We got 30% built in there that's causing crazy fees. And then, does it come in at 40%? Who knows? Will they even write? And
Friday.
Tom has a good point there too, because we were so concerned about the citizens. The citizens has the right to assess every owner, every person who buys insurance in the state of Florida.
Car insurance.
if they need the money.
So we're subsidizing the,
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
area.
and we're trying to stay away from that as far as we can, but we hope they don't, what's their massive situation down south.
Friday, when I went to CBIZ had a presentation down at the Yacht Club, and he was saying for not 23, but 24, they're still expecting a 30 to 50% increase. And at the last minute, another insurance company had pulled out.
I heard that. I don't know who it was,
Yeah.
but so far, nothing has impacted us.
But
Our big hope is to be rewritten by ACIC. If not, then our only other what's the word, our only other ones that's backed up by state funds is the citizens.
but then we
Okay.
lose all of our grandfather clauses. right?
Well, it's not grant, we pay for them each year, but I mean, we are paying for code updates, which you don't get with citizens. You pay higher rates, you get less coverage.
John, I think I remember you saying we only have built in 18% increase.
No.
What did we do?
Last year, we put 18 in and we got short and had the special assess. This year, we're putting in a 30% and covering everything they've told us.
Oh, so we do have 30, okay. Fingers crossed.
Anyway, that's the end of the hurricane. Yeah. But anyway, we're gonna do everything we can to make it neat for you guys. as quick
How
as we
did
can.
the generator? I heard a story.
Well, the generator worked fine. The only thing that happened was that the capacity of the propane tanks was much less hourly run that we found, and we're just gonna have to get more. One tank of propane runs this office about 4 hours. It was estimated to be 10. So
Well,
we're,
that answers the question. I just thought, God, did that thing stop again right in the
Yeah.
middle when we first time we
Yeah.
needed it?
no, it just, you want to talk about irony, as you know, an owner donated that. And just as the owner came in to charge a heart monitor, thing went out. And we couldn't do that. Talk about irony, right? Now, but we ran out and we were able to take care of it.
Can
For
we,
this individual.
I thought we were thinking about running piping from our pool heaters.
They wouldn't let us do that. They consider this a non-revenue account when it's a generator that only runs periodically. They wanted $7,000 to set a meter, and they wanted $7,000 to hook up, so they would get their payments well in advance. So that's why we go propane. But we think we can buy a 50-pounder or maybe even sink a tank. But it's part of the learning process.
Good.
But we did have this up and running for the most part. As soon as we got another
And it
25
did
pounds of
everything,
gas.
it did everything we wanted it
Yeah.
to do, except we just ran out of gas.
At the wrong time.
Any damage to the security systems, or we're not responsible for that?
No, they have no damage to security system, no camera damage out there, and no damage to anything here. Our system tested negative, but that's because the power went off. But the security system on this building is fine. Camera work is fine. The cameras are down, and I guess we're lucky because lightning strike had taken out the main guts in here before. So all of our cameras were down and unplugged, so nothing could have happened to them anyway. So now we're supposed to get the system back up this week.
If the cameras do get damaged, are we responsible for that, or are they?
They had responsibility for the first 5 years, and then the warranty ran out, so it's us.
Okay. The Fall Fest. Possibly rescheduled.
If I may, again, I was called by Cynthia and told that it felt that because of everything that happened, they who are spearheading this, both her and Catherine, feel that it's a little overwhelming to try to put the party together this quick, I know that Jack will be very upset. I know. But the whole idea would be to bounce it back to maybe January where everybody would be back in order and not delay it all the way until the spring. And so since the board set the date, it's up to the board to say, but the main organizers are recommending not to delay it at least until January.
Do they have a recommended date?
Well, they'll be up to us to pick. They said they'll do it anytime.
My only reluctance to do it in January is we cannot count on the weather in January. It could be cold.
Well, yeah, I'm saying January. Maybe you want to do it in February. I mean, you know.
But then Jack-
Many of us don't.
Well,
There's a thing called a jacket. You heard of those?
Well, I have Florida boots.
My wife would be right there with you with the cold.
No kidding.
So
Any
it'll be up to
suggestions?
the board on Monday. You don't have to find a date certain, but certainly to, as recommended, cancel the
And
party.
they have no recommendation.
Steve,
No, well, maybe I can find out from.
before Monday, I'll talk to Catherine.
I would rather vote on a date than I would be discuss the date for 35 minutes.
John,
What?
I just said, before Monday, I'll talk to Catherine.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You know, we could have a bonfire.
With all the wood we have.
It's all stacked out by my house.
I was telling Steve, my middle son is a pyromaniac. I mean, he just has fires all the time.
There you
If he was
go.
down here, then all this wood would be gone.
I thought
guarantee.
about having a bonfire, but there were trees above me, so I.
Got
How much would he charge?
Yeah, no, I know. Kid has fires every night in his backyard. huh?
And if we have a hot enough one, we wouldn't have a lot of smoke.
Just
No, I'll tell you what, there's some beautiful wood
ordinance
out there.
against that, right?
Minor details, they'll never find us.
Is there any salvage value that we can get out of
Fire,
it?
you won't have it.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that on Monday. You
We'll
talk to
invite
Catherine.
her.
Anybody want to talk to Cynthia too, or?
Well, she could talk to Cynthia.
Okay, all right, I'll get the two of them.
Well,
Parking lot roadway resealing project, that's been postponed.
well, that's up to us to postpone.
Oh, I thought you already told.
Well,
them.
the guy was supposed to be here
Yeah,
today.
yeah, I was
so
supposed to be here today, so I think that's,
We've delayed it if nothing else, but the fact is, obviously, the parking lots are in such shape where we don't want to be putting sealant down and moving cars and everything of that nature. And, you know, as more people come in, we may want to delay this thing again for a couple, 3, 4 months until people start to leave again. I mean, all we do is keep the money in the bank.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that's what we should do.
You mean
Yeah.
wait till they leave next spring?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good idea.
And maybe even wait till fall again, because when they leave in spring, if we put the sealer down, you have the hot summer sun that bakes it out. So we'll wait till maybe next October.
Just give us
And
any
do
more
everything.
Yeah,
cash.
and
for-
next year, we're intending to resurface Wildwood Spring Boulevard. So maybe we'll just do that.
Do it all
You
at
know,
once.
Yeah,
That's actually a
So
very
we-
good
that's a-
idea.
that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Sounds better to be all the way.
Plus, you don't want to be in the way of them picking up all the
Yeah.
debris.
no,
Okay.
We don't want a leaf motive, a
So
motif in our.
That's
You
just
put-
gonna be
Would you
put off.
mind putting that out in an email, John, a email blast? Because I've already warned people in,
oh,
in
sure.
our cluster.
Well, we have to officially do it Monday, but yes,
Yeah.
I'll do that. Yes.
Okay,
When did you say that the resealing for the boulevard was?
Well, the replacing of the, no, I mean, the resurfacing will be next, probably fall. Yeah, that's what, what's in the budget. to do.
that's a good idea.
Okay, old business, second floor entries.
Okay, so again, slowed down a little bit, but there were 4 more done since we talked last, and right now, finding somebody to do it is the hardest part. We're still saving money when we do it, but it's going slow. But I think 45 are now done. And the ones that had serious issues are done. So there's none that just have to be done on an emergency basis.
Right.
There's none that are shorn up or anything like that were before.
So how many left then, John?
Oh, well, there's 141 to do and 45 are done.
Okay, so 99,
Yeah.
90,
Did anybody
96.
send a work order in for work?
Yeah, my mail's
for, a landing at all this week? I had
Speak
a
up.
report of one leaking down to the bottom unit, so I'll get the number on. it.
Yeah, okay.
That was during the.
We had one call that somebody said they had a puddle and they wanted us to sweep it off.
This was the lower unit, so.
Yeah,
Oh, give me a
yeah,
break.
yeah.
By
Nah,
the
we
way,
did, we did.
Before we leave this cleanup thing, the guys have done a great job. I think there's
Yes,
a better
yes.
job this year or this time than our last
Before.
hurricane. And I think we had more to deal with this time. So I'm very proud of them and you too. So. for
That's
you,
good to
John.
hear. We had a plan and we kind of stuck to it. There was a time where a very small minority got very upset the way we did things and let us know about it. But we continued on and the vast majority of people are satisfied with how it was.
Well, on this side, I'm pleased with your plan and I think it did the right thing. And I can't imagine doing it any more efficiently than you did. So.
Thank
And
you.
some people
Thank you.
probably just
And the
live
boys
in a
understand.
bubble and
Yeah.
you can see the, didn't see the whole place. Get
No.
yourselves out there and look and see what's going on. That just, I'm sorry,
John.
that just irritates
yeah.
me that
Yeah.
people are that selfish. They can't understand.
I guess
being-
along the lines, you had, as part of this, whoever was disgruntled a little bit there, you had sent an email and copied all us about all these steps that were taken. But, so maybe not at the board meetings, but at some point, like, I'm surprised at one of them where you said anybody who had emergency needs was contacted, but I don't recall like the, owners being solicited. If you have emergency needs, let us know.
Well, but the cluster advisors give us a list who's what and where. And we don't have 100 of them here to contact. We have maybe 12 or 13. And each one of those persons were contacted and seen if they need help. Like there's two right here in Springdale on the corner here. There's the 99-year-old gentleman in 5. Contacted him and woke him up. Sat through the whole thing. But I mean, yes, we know, we don't know everybody. I
So
think,
the cluster advisors were doing that?
no, they let us know if there's anybody in their cluster that we should have on the list. or not. Could it have been somebody we didn't call? Yeah, it could happen. But to our understanding, there's about 12 or 15 that we keep our eye on
Right.
that might need help because they're kind of by themselves or don't have assisted help or anything like that. And so we contact them. There could be others
I just-
that we don't know about, but to the best of our knowledge, nobody got hurt, nobody got sick, nobody got anything of that nature. And we contacted those people, or Maggie personally contacted them.
Okay.
5:59.
If you know somebody, let us know.
Quick question. Did anyone step up for Woodlawn Cluster S Cluster Advisor yet? No. Okay. Can I still do both?
No, unfortunately, it's prohibited in the, but if you want to help out without saying you're a cluster advisor.
Don't use that name.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought T, that's the other cluster, T. Didn't they volunteer to do both?
Somewhat, yeah.
Debbie did, but now she's moving to.
She's in Sherwood. now.
Sherwood.
She's been.
Mhm.
And she sold her 843 or 873 or whatever that one. 843.
She sold it.
5:59.
We're making progress.
He's there today.
Yes, the plans were submitted to the county with the engineer's seal. The county had a separate process and rejected it. Not because of the plans were worthy, not because the plans didn't fit within it, but it didn't come in on their type of form.
Oh, gee.
So that delayed it about a week.
Oh.
And so that's finally been taken care of. We know that the county has not issued us a permit, but the county has said they will issue a permit on those plans. So we've started work, even though we don't have a permit in hand. And that work is painting the entire underside of the open areas. And that goes about toward that, right? So they've been treated for termites. Nothing there. Both sides checked. There's no migration to either side. The treated for termite deaths or activity. And now it's been painted or in the process of being painted and sealed. And the last thing will be put up the drywall. So it's moving along terribly slow, but it's moving along.
Is there any ETA?
Well, I'm gonna find out more today, what he gets, once he gets the permit, they'll put up the drywall, maybe in a 2-day period.
It's like Murphy's Law with this thing.
Oh, it's terrible and expensive. We're looking at $17,000 to $18,000 right now. But we're rebuilding a whole unit.
It's still cheaper than tenting.
Oh, yeah, tenning was 24 and no guarantee.
And we wouldn't have found the real problem.
And then wouldn't have found the roof problem because we'd have never opened it up.
So it would have been
It was a blessing in
18
disguise.
over the tenting.
Yeah.
Okay, pool, chemical feeders.
We're still waiting for a price from Lowell to make a decision on what we want to do with that. The new budget contains the normal payment of the rental, which if the board ultimately decides again to pay for it, they'd have to move some funds within the reserves to do it. But that would save $8,400 into the budget next year if we do it. So we got time to work on that.
Yeah.
As late as-
Worry about that.
Voted on that?
Well, you have interest,
Yeah.
but we don't have he gave us a off the cuff price of 51,000. But I think, I told him, I thought he had, by the time he put a little sharper pencil to it and did exact specifications for the installation and everything like that, I think it's gonna be this price. I want to bring you a price that we know it's gonna be.
Something right now with the other, yeah. Talk about that later. Backflow preventer problem.
All right, as everybody knows, sorry,
Reverter?
is that a perverter?
Revert?
Wait a minute.
I know what it
We
is.
got another one of those.
Right, I pronounced it correctly.
Right.
Preventer.
I
Boy, I'll
like
tell
this
you
better.
what.
I'm qualified on those, working on those.
Where's Leslie when
Leslie's there.
I got two,
She noticed
I got Pam and Leslie are my editors. Boy, that is a serious issue. Anyway, we want to prevent backflow perverters too.
Get
Anyway,
rid of them.
right, the backflow prevention system is on our water supply. We have a 6-inch water supply up. As you come in, you'll see that big pipe in the traffic island. And it has what they call a backflow preventer on it that will not let water seep back out of it. In other words, the pressure is always coming in. It has to be inspected on a yearly basis. It failed inspection. They were not able to get parts. Parts are now on the way. It's $1,500 to repair it, including labor. We sent them a check for $750 and all of a sudden the part showed up. So
Oh,
we'll be doing
amazing.
that this week. We probably will have to turn it off. We don't know yet when they'll do it, but there may have to be water, it may have to be turned off to everybody. There'll be plenty of notice on that,
Okay. All right.
but it's underway.
All right, very good. New business.
This is an older, I took a older version of the, for using here of the agenda. After communications is the budget. And that's obviously the big deal here.
Yeah. Go right into that.
Yes, everybody should have a packet. Tom, do you want to make a statement?
Well,
Tom is the fuzzy chairman.
there's not, the
two big expenses, you know, it's like on half the budget is insurance and cable. And that's stuff we can't control, obviously. And I'm scared about the insurance may not be enough, but that's what we're gonna plan on. So. Okay, so that's all I can say, like I said, that, if you look at half the budget, it's basically those items. So, and that's uncontrolled by our, I don't know how we can change it. I guess we try to negotiate the cable next year, right? Is that right?
That's what we're gonna hope to do next year. We had 5 meetings, and the committee was very active this year. First meeting kind of reviewed the budget from 2022 after 6 months of operation and found it within reason, equitable. Then they started working on, they had, each committee submitted a set of their own proposals. The administration was done by me, grounds was done by Peter, buildings was done by Steve, and so on. When I say them personally, I mean the committees. And as Tom said, whew, where's my figures here? We're about 270, this proposed budget is about $270,000 more than last year's budget. 222,000 of the 270,000 increases insurance. Okay, 222,000. The next major increase of 29,000 is cable, which is by contract. And I did attempt to renegotiate it this year, and they have promised that once it reaches a 5th year, that they will consider renegotiation on its percentage increases. But it has to be a minimum of 5 years life, and this is the 5th year. So we may get a little relief on that. Finally, the other $38,000 is just in general increases. Salaries and some other issues. Yeah, the committee recommended, the various committees recommended a $2 per hour raise to all employees, all hourly employees. The budget committee felt that maybe it should be a little bit of pullback, even though that there are inflationary pressures and everything else going on. And so the budget contains $1.50 an hour. And with the fact that maybe next year we can kick in another 50 cents or something, or maybe not. But so that's you know, the two biggies, as Tom said, is insurance and cable. The rest of it is $38,000 for miscellaneous, which includes employee salaries.
Are we gonna make a real good appeal to everybody to remember the guys at Christmas? Because, I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
the monumental efforts, Herculean task. I just want, I know we had a record last year amount. I'd like to see that increased, yes. And
I agree.
because this is tax-free for them, it's like a huge pay increase.
Well, it's certainly we certainly will do that. You know, we're working with less people too, so if people contribute the same, there'll be more money to spread. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
People
or we need
dig
to
deeper.
remind people at Christmas time what they
Yeah, but it's
did.
getting close.
Yeah,
But what does this mean? I think the best thing we can do with, I mean, you got, as a board, you have a right to take this thing and tear it apart, change it, or agree with the budget committee. You certainly have the duty to study it and make suggestions. What the law requires you is to accept the budget at the October meeting for mailing to the owners. You do not adopt the budget until November, your November meeting.
Oh, here.
But the state is very specific on how the budgets are handled. If we go back to the It's, I don't know, about the 7th or 8th page where it says 2023 budget using zero operating surplus. Keep going. I think you're past it. You're past it. So like the 4th one in or something. Yeah, go back the other way.
All right.
Oh, yes, up top. All right, you already got it out.
Already got it.
Basically, let's talk about one thing first. This is the first year that there were no appreciable operating surplus funds to augment the budget.
We knew we'd get there.
Ever since 2013, we've been using some operating surplus. At one point, it was as high as $70,000. It went to a low point of $30,000 last year. There's none there other than what you feel the basic necessities for emergencies. So you had to eat the $30,000 right off the bat that we put the money into last year. So this is a budget that has only income coming from owners and other interest and application fees and things like that. I've looked also into, and I will going to recommend, we have the right to increase our application fees and our miscellaneous fees by as much as $100 for application fees and estoppel fees. And so we, instead of bringing in, I tried to be conservative on this part, about 19,000, we might be able to bring 26, 27,000. That's not much, but every little bit helps. And so we'll be talking about that for next year. Obviously, cable, everybody pays equal, and reserves, everybody pays equal.
Somebody on Zoom needs.
No, not what we budgeted. No.
And so bottom line is, if you were to accept this particular budget, it equates to, to a 2,300, it's $145 and change more a quarter. Interestingly put, though, because liars figure, maybe that's why I thought of this, I don't know. But with this increase, it's still less than you paid last year. Because if you add the special assessment to your maintenance fees, you're going to pay an average of about $150 less with this budget than you would have with the other budget. But it's still, it's the way you look at it, you say, boy, I got to write that check. But that's what it is, and that's what drives it.
The special assessment was about $700 an hour.
See, the $700, if you took the $700 assessment and then added on to what you paid quarterly, you're going to pay about $130 less this year.
That has to be spelled out.
Yeah, I don't know how, I mean, but I mean, it was interesting to see it.
Well, you know what? There's nothing we can do. Like Tom said, the two major increases.
We
have
can't
no-
control.
Yeah, we have no control
No
over.
control.
And everything else, costs of everything else has gone up. Why would they expect us to be different? I mean, it's unfortunate that inflation is probably hitting this as well.
And we're still considerably less.
Oh, I
Some
know.
others-
I've
You know, Wildwood-
I've asked
I just-
around.
Yeah, Wildwood too is, they pay $525
And Spring Lakes.
per month
Spring Lakes is ridiculous.
for any size unit.
Yeah, and it's crazy, but it was like, and they're looking at a big increase.
Yeah, they're looking at
the same insurance
Mhm.
issues.
Assessments for roofs.
And they have to, and they haven't, and they don't, they have to fund some of those stairwells that we have been doing. They haven't have any money into that.
Well, they are working in Spring Lakes on some of those stairwells.
But like I said, that's gonna be real expensive.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
They don't even
Is that
reserve.
because they haven't reserved it?
right.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, They
They
have
don't-
no
they
reserves.
they fund about 40%.
Yeah, they have almost no reserves.
Well, aren't in Spring Lakes and Wildwood too, aren't each of those clusters their own association?
There's
Oh, yeah.
two.
Sort of, they're kind of loosely affiliated. I think they share.
Well, they
things.
have
They
what
share the pool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're like,
No
but I
landscape.
think their own buildings are their
Yeah.
own responsibility.
Yeah.
One takes care of the pools, one takes care of refuse. one takes care of the roads like that.
Okay, actually, I just.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have, well, Spring Lakes has a master.
Yes, they
That
do.
takes
They
care
have-
of their amenities and their roads, okay? Wildwood Springs 2 group just shares and expenses for the schools and the roads. My company managed there for years,
Probably the
and
tennis
so
courts.
it's a sharing
Come up,
process.
set of tennis courts, you know, I think.
Somebody needs to be muted.
Yeah, I think it's Monica. Oh my God.
Monica is in Germany. We
Okay,
heard
then I don't know
Monica,
who
we
it
got,
is.
and then we got, but she is loud enough.
No, I mean, on the Zoom, I can hear
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
Chris,
Yeah.
we asked somebody to back off in the background. Apparently they were getting some feedback.
Let me see who we got here. Marv's muted. The only one that's not muted is the phone. I just muted them.
Oh,
Should be okay.
Thanks, Chris.
questions? Anybody on Zoom?
Tammy.
I can Zoom.
Oh, Tammy's gonna,
Tammy.
Tammy's got a question.
I do have a little bit of a question on the pest termite control.
Mhm.
We spent 18,000 this year, but I think it's something that we need to look at and possibly address. The outside termite, I have a bug with them. In Lakeside alone, they didn't come in June or September. I
For
know
what?
for a fact for outside spraying on many of Lakeside. I left my gate open on both July and September, and no one from the termite company showed up.
They don't come from the termite company. They do
No,
outside.
the bug people, aren't they
The
supposed
pest
to?
control.
Pest control,
All right.
but they
But
did
wait a
not
minute,
spray.
with all due respect, this is October and you're telling me about June? How can I fix
called-
it if
No,
I
no, no,
don't
no,
know?
no. I called pertaining to July.
Yeah,
Okay, and supposedly Jeff came out and compensated and sprayed the back of my area.
okay.
Okay, in September, I left it open and nobody came, and that's like, forget it. I'm just going to wait till the meeting comes up, not to offend you or
No, I'm not
anything.
taking it that way, but I can't fix it if I don't know
Right.
about it.
But if, I've checked with neighbors in my area and they haven't shown up on the outside to do outside spraying, okay? If each condo or each cluster or each village doesn't get sprayed on the outside, but they're charging us, we're losing money.
Well, of course. but-
And I remember several years ago, when we had gotten rid of the lawn service, because you said they're good for about 6 months and then these kind of like dwindle down, and by the end of their contract, they're not very good. And that's kind of about why we went in-house, because we were actually saving money because of the quality of care, okay? The same way I'm noticing with our pest control. They're spraying inside, but are they spraying outside?
Well, they show up. Let's put it
They
that way.
show up
Now, that's
somewhere,
important, but that's good to let me know and we'll certainly follow
you
it.
know, but it's something.
That's
do
the
we need
easiest part
to-
of his job is the outside.
The outside,
You know, I mean, it
You
really,
would think.
it going in and getting the keys and doing all that,
right.
that's, you know, but that's good. I
But
need to
anybody
know
who
that.
has a locked door, now I left mine open,
I need to know that,
and
so that's good.
2 months in a row, you know, they haven't been. Well, if I check with, you know, you and you and you, anybody who has an outside or a condo with either a courtyard, or are they spraying around the doors, the walls on the outside? Okay, if we're only getting 6 months of care versus 12 months, wait a minute, we're paying 18,000 for 6 months.
No, you're right.
You know, so it's
You're
something
right.
that, you know, would be better off doing our own outside and not even going inside at all. If-
Well, I'll tell you this, most companies now only do outside
Right,
with the inside service calls
that's necessary.
as necessary. And that is another way to save some money, not much, but somewhat.
Well, every
But,
penny,
you know, the more you prevent, but people do bring in bugs too, like from Publix and the bags and stuff like
Right.
that, you know. But this is good for me to know, and I appreciate that, because
Are we supposed to leave the gates wide open or just unlocked?
unlocked.
unlocked, I would think.
I
It's more than-
specifically let my totally open
Mhm.
because everybody else is not home. And so they're letting him know that, okay, he can come in. And like I said, for 2 months, not.
How do you know he hasn't been there? What-
I was outside I was painting my courtyard
there.
walls. So I was there on both occasions.
It can happen both ways where you don't see them, but if you're out there,
But
you're out there.
I made
yeah.
a point of being out there. I mean, I was bored. you know, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
there's no question about the fact that we'll be following up with them because, that was one of the things that I found when I first came here. You were paying for Wildwood 2's pest control. Malta was charging for 800 units and we only had 558. And I don't know who was getting, I don't know who was getting that money.
Oh, they didn't.
We don't have water.
They
Yeah,
all
we
take
don't have
the money.
water.
Well, this company changed companies. I
Well,
mean,
unfortunately, yeah, Carmen died,
mhm,
who really brought us the best service.
right.
And his company was snatched up by a big company,
Mhm.
and they're all big companies now.
Yeah.
But we've been able to retain Jeremy, and if Jeremy is falling down on the job, then I'm gonna be very disappointed, but we'll talk to him.
Is that schedule on the board? like
Yeah.
the YouTube?
It's on the website.
Okay, any more on the budget?
Any questions?
John, could I just ask a question?
Oh, sure.
So going back to the particular situation with the carport damaging her car. So she's in a situation, but you don't mind me saying this, where her car was totaled by her insurance. She's not accepted it yet because if she accepts it, they're going to take her car. But what they're giving her is not enough to buy another car. And so whatever finances are, it's not economic, it's not feasible for her right now. But is there any consideration? I mean, all she's looking for is a paint job or something, just so because she loves her car, right? There's no reason why she shouldn't.
You mean,
Mechanically, it's still a viable car. Is there any consideration that the association would pay for just, whatever, painting it or whatever, just to get it unscratched?
well, two things. First of all, they have totaled your car because of the scratches. Really?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
No
That's
kidding.
very crazy. Yeah,
How
that's
old
number
is
one.
she?
Okay, just so I
I think
understand.
she's in a unique
Yeah.
situation.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
so I
yeah,
understand. Yeah. So, okay, that would be a board decision. I mean, you've got liability, okay? And it's like a two-way street. It's like you buy liability insurance, you make a claim,
I just said that.
but then there's a deductible. And I mean, if it was a $300 paint job and the deductible is $500 on a policy, the association, as the board would make the decision, would probably say, well, it doesn't make sense to increase our liability insurance by having claims when we can paint your car or put a piece of chrome on it or whatever it is for less than the deductible. So my answer would be it's a board decision, but if it was an element of common element or a limited common element that hurts somebody's personal property, I would say there is responsibility for the board to make these type of things. I know we have, the biggest one we had was Larry Wedrow, where a tree came down on his. And unfortunately, the insurance company sued. It got crazy, but we had to pay out of pocket pretty good amount of money.
Does she apply through a committee or like get? an
No, I
estimate?
think she
Like, what would be the
applies to the manager.
I'll let you know how it goes.
She
I'm
gets
still
to the manager and I bring it up to the board. I'll bring it up to the finance committee.
How
I
much
brought
are
it
they
up because I
offering
didn't want it to be a conflict
if you
of
keep the
interest.
car? How much are they offering? to give you?
Nothing if I keep the car, but if I give them the car, then they'll pay me the market value for the car, which is about $8,000, almost $9,000.
But you can't buy a new car.
Something
Maybe a
wrong with
really used
insurance.
car.
I can't imagine it costs $8,000.
Yeah, I was.
No,
quoted
totals, they total.
at,
no.
uh,
But it's generally the total is if it costs more to fix it.
By two different, no, that's.
for
Have you gotten
scratch?
proposal, have you gotten any estimates on
Yeah.
painting?
Yeah, they align.
How much?
About 7,000.
7,000 to paint it?
Well, because it's paint, but also redoing some of the glass, because that all got scratched up. So it's more.
Well, glass should, your insurance company should cover glass windows.
Right.
Like, with no
cover it.
deductible
Yeah,
or
no
anything.
deductible. I've had my windows
Yeah,
replaced.
yeah.
and they just come in.
That should, they should just come in and they'll do it right at your, in your plate, at your place.
They've included it in the estimate and totaled the vehicle. I've been negotiating with them for at least a week.
That's ludicrous.
And I still have some more strings to pull. But anyways, I was talking to Barbara about it. I was gonna come talk to you. and
Well, we'll
see
talk about it, sure.
what
I
options.
mean, and all this damage was caused by the
Yeah, it's
flip-flop.
unfortunate because only part of it came off above my car. So in the wind, it was just repeatedly slicing the whole duration of the storm.
And the name of this maybe insurance company?
USAA,
Really?
which is a good company.
Yeah, it is.
You pay top premium for them.
I know.
That's
And
amazing.
they're expensive. They pay top.
I know they couldn't be AAA.
The frustrating part is that I'm only about $120 over the totaling threshold. So I'm trying to get them to pull it down so it won't get totaled and they'll cover the repairs. But
Oh,
anyways, I'll let you know how it goes.
okay, well, keep us surprised.
Maybe that's their method.
Yeah, total it and.
So
Just
what
about,
what you're saying is though that you would be looking for $6,000 or $7,000 from the association?
Well,
Well,
I
depending
don't.
No,
know.
I mean, well, you know, no, that's what I'm trying to,
The-
because it does make a
The
difference.
paint job was quoted just over 7,000, but I'll see how this all
Without the
pans out
glass.
before we talk.
What if they did the
What happened to the
insurance company?
$300 paint?
That was with the plan.
That's great.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No question.
What is this?
I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up.
Tamara will bring it up. That just, man, that's unusual. USA is usually pretty reasonable.
Had a few people look at it and they said it looks fair, which is, it's just a pretty situation.
I guess.
We don't feel for you. I think that's
Thank
what the
you.
sign
Yeah.
was for. Tammy, are you gonna?
Okay. Do you have anything on the?
Nothing else?
budget?
No, nothing else on the budget. Anything
You want to go to
bring up?
manager? Report
Well,
anything?
manager's report will be
Okay.
received when
Committee
this
reports.
weekend is usual.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
just passed out. If you wanna pass
You
it
okay?
over to- They did. No,
Oh, you mean you passed out?
I ate Roger's stuff. I can't pick it up. I try to know what my problem is. So that's
I'll stay on the other
during
side.
our conversation pertaining to who has and who doesn't have upstairs carpeted area changes. We had some ideas, but nothing was kind of written in stone or for sure. So I got to tooling around and this isn't a policing action, but what it is in the event of a disaster, we have some type of a management tool that would be in each file. And I'm calling it a unit management. You have the unit address. What's the size? Do they have a carport? Check. Do they have a private courtyard? Do they have pergola, which was part of the original? What is the unit owner's name? Are they a full-time resident? Check. Their phone number and cell phone number. Are they a part-time resident? If that's a check, then what's their away address? Do they live in Michigan? Do they live in Connecticut? Where? Who watches their condo villa while they're away? What's their cell phone? So like the condo that got the Norfolk Island pine fell on it, who do we call? Do we call the people who are watching? Do we call the full-time residents? Who do we call immediately to see if there's problems? Okay, if it's a renter's unit, the owner rents it out, the renter's name, their cell, and their phone number. Okay, structural changes. Do they have a brand new front door or is it the original front door? These things are all monitored or possibly monitored by the insurance that takes care of the association. Do they have a new front door? Do they have an old front door? Do they have hurricane-proof windows that they've replaced? Do they have a front courtyard where they've put a pergola on it? The EV charging unit. CBiz actually demands that EVs has, for anybody who has an EV charging station, that they have structural insurance certification. So if they would have their battery burns and it damages our infrastructure or shocks and ruins the entire row of condos, that insurance, privately owned insurance, covers it, not the association. Okay, do you
Who's
have?
CV? I'm
pardon?
sorry.
Electric vehicle.
No, not EV. She said CV requires.
No, Evie. Oh, no.
Who requires?
CBiz
CBiz.
actually requires,
Who's CBiz?
CBiz Insurance Company.
Yeah.
They actually recommend and say that they want
But that's not
insurance.
a county ordinance.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, no.
Yeah, just.
No.
So,
It's just to protect
Yeah.
the condos that they work with,
Sure,
okay?
good idea.
Electrical panels, is it the original electrical panel or do you have a brand new one? People are starting to change them out. When was your air conditioner furnace changed out? Do you have a generator? Is it hooked up to your electrical panel or is it just a plug-in? Hot water heater date, when was your hot water heater changed? Do you have solar tube ceiling lights that possibly leak during a severe storm or upstairs non-carpeted areas? Do we have this on file? Who's been changed, who has certificates saying that it's met the recommendations, who snuck it in, stuff like that. Miscellaneous changes. And then on the bottom, who has emergency keys, who has emergency contact cell numbers. This would be in each file. I know up front it's a lot of work, but in the long run, it could save us a headache.
There's a couple of things here. When you have rental names, you should have perhaps the end of the lease period. of
Good
time.
idea. Yeah.
And last but not least, the upstairs, maybe we should be indicating with our unit address if it's an upstairs unit. Then the upstairs non-carpet area might make it.
Right.
If it's a villa, we don't have to worry about it.
Or downstairs.
So
Well, we
what,
could put-
what triggered this? Could we just start back at the beginning? Why is this being
last month,
proposed?
when we were talking about who had carpeting, who didn't have carpeting in their living room and bedrooms. And there was kind of like a little discussion over who has it, who doesn't have it. And I got to thinking about it. I know that John, Steve, and the insurance guy actually went around to see who had hurricane windows, and all of those things are important for insurance estimates. Who has a new front door? Who has storm windows? Who has the old shutters that were grandfathered, but from a fire department looking at it, they're not safe because you can't get out of them because, I mean, you can't get out of those. So those are the things that we start looking at for insurance. Well, if we have a list for each condo or villa, it would make it so easier, one, to show to the insurance. Yeah, we do have a lot of people that have replaced their windows. Yeah, we do have carpeted, non-carpeted areas, that actually, helps, clean up if you would have, leaking upstairs. It's a lot easier to clean up. When you have Serpro coming in, if you have vinyl floors or tile versus carpeting that soaks up water and it rots the place. There's a lot of things that we can look at, how we can use this to help us. It's not just a piece of paper, like homework, that sort of thing.
So what's the purpose of AC furnace being up here? I mean, since I've owned it full time, since 2003, I think I've replaced my AC 3 times. What does that
Right.
mean? So what's the purpose here? I mean, this looks like extreme oversight. I don't know.
Well, when you start looking at everything,
Some of your
you know,
points are valid, but
the air conditioner and furnace, when they're away people, when they're here only 6 months, what happens? Your hot water heater goes, your air conditioner goes, things only go when you're gone. They don't go when you're here.
I'm doing one right now at a unit I check. First it leaked and now it's not working and
okay, but
now.
what's the purpose here? You're asking
With your
for the
air
last
conditioner,
replacement?
No, your air conditioner and your furnace, what goes? They rust, they start leaking. And all of a sudden you have a pool of water. And it's at the end of life of an air conditioner. People go away. When does that end of life happen? When you're not here. So it's kind of nice to know how old your air conditioner is.
But
you
hot
know.
water heaters.
Same way with hot water heater. Some associations recommend that hot water heaters be changed out every 8 years, no matter if they're bad or good.
In some
Most-
in some it's required that they be
Yes.
changed every 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
know.
I think you ought to add pets, the number of pets.
There's a form already that the association uses
Oh, I
to,
think that's
that
what
we have to
replace.
fill out because my emergency number contact changed. And Maggie gave me a form I had to fill out to just change, update all.
Well, I've been
So
here
are you
so
working
long.
with Maggie?
No,
Or are you working with the building committee?
no, I worked on my own.
Okay.
I mean,
Shouldn't it
sorry, I
start
gotta go.
somewhere as part of the process?
It doesn't bother me. I just wanted to bring up an awareness that it would help the association and it would help people.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here for a long time. I haven't filled out anything. Now, I don't know what's in my file, but when it comes to,
Well, it's
what
right
is
on the
changed out.
website. See, I went to the website.
Oh, okay.
There's a form there you fill out.
Well, there's
There's
certain information that shouldn't be, that should only be a paper form because of the cloud. How secure is our cloud? Do you want,
I went from, we're filling out a piece of paper. I don't want to get to it. I mean, it's as a board.
well, that's
meeting.
a whole nother.
That's why I'm
ballgame,
saying
but
maybe this
this
needs to
one-
go through like a community.
That's why I brought it
existing
up here at the workshop
To
rather
kind of-
than waste time at a meeting if it's not necessary. Like a lot of our other, this is a workshop in which, if we want to use something like this, okay. If we want to add to whatever the building committee and just build on it.
Well, I guess our president will decide where
that's gotta be infrastructure.
I think we're on the right track here. Number one.
Put that to the landscaping
I'm
committee.
not sure what we have in the master
Right,
files,
right.
number one. Number two, when we have things like the process of getting these floors changed on the upper units, that's got to be some type of a certificate, an okay, whatever from the office. And if it isn't up there and it is all of a sudden and it has no permit, then we've got a problem.
Well,
And
if we have something like this, it's a
exactly.
general, everything is in there. know.
Exactly, but I think what we need to do is decide exactly what we need to know, because the one concern I have is we're getting a lot of people that are turning this place into an apartment house, and we are the landlords. A prime example is our latest letter from cleaning up the place as opposed to doing it themselves. They own the unit and they're responsible for the unit. So I am a little concerned about worrying about their air conditioning and stuff, but I understand where you're going with that. But I think we've got something here that we need to look at. I don't know what we have, but we're in the midst of putting a lot of things on the computer now, and maybe it's time to revisit exactly what we know about each unit, not put a face on it. That's the only problem I have.
Is there an administration committee?
Well,
Like what
my
we're-
suggestion would be on something of this nature to consider at least, and not to knee jerk right away, either way,
Exactly.
would be to set up an ad hoc committee. That would not be full standing, but could take a look at this, could develop this, massage it, and even handle some of the details once, if in fact the policy goes through, to even fill some of it out.
Right.
Because
Be
it
something.
would need to be more than one or two people or.
Yeah, it could be a
anything of that
cluster advisor.
nature. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think you set it up as an ad hoc if you wish to go forward with it, and it certainly has value.
I think
It's
the
not,
value is knowing that there is somebody looking at the unit, who to call if the water's running out the front door.
Right.
And
We have those.
well,
We have what Barbara's talking about is a unit census. And it's
Oh,
all the
okay,
emergency
good.
numbers, and is there a dog there, and is there.
Oh, good. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be revised in some of the
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
So it could
exactly.
be one document
Right.
instead of multiple.
Right, exactly.
Excellent.
So that when you go in their paper file, you know, computers might be down, you go in the paper file, here it is. And it has everything, you know.
My only question is, since I bought 18 years ago, I have no idea if that door is original or not, stuff like that. Who's gonna tell me that?
So if you have squares on your door, I guarantee it's the original.
Why, but why does the association need to, why do you need to fill it out? on the
Because
phone?
I have a
So like
strong
it-
door anyway.
I
so
think
it
some
should help
kind of
protect the
ad hoc
original
needs to
door,
go
right? So,
over,
you know,
is this
the
over,
original
Excellent
door
point.
is it, or is it valuable information for whatever purpose that might, you know?
I like the
Maybe
the
needed
way
more.
it started, but I don't know what we already have, but I think it's time
Right, that's
to
what I'm saying.
revisit it.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
incorporated.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Pull them all together and, you know, incorporate everything. So you, there again, you only have one paper. It would save a lot of headaches when you have some kind of a disaster, any kind of disaster, either one of the unit or the cluster or actually, you know, some people even have on, you know, your insurance number, it should be on here. So, you know, because you're supposed to turn in your insurance papers to the office. You know, how many people really do that? Same way
When
with
do you have to turn in insurance papers to the office? They just have to, you just,
proof of insurance.
What?
well, that was a
Aren't
couple
you
of years
supposed
ago.
to?
Oh, that's taken out a law.
Oh, good.
like 4 years ago.
Okay, same way, we used to have our license, our car license plates on record.
Well, they are.
That might be part of that form, though. I
It
believe.
is part of that form that, you know, what vehicles,
Yeah.
what is your vehicle, what is your license
We
plate?
have some-
How
If you
many
change
types
it, I
do you
don't know if
have?
people tell us or
Right,
not, but I mean,
exactly.
but
Well, you know what,
we
it-
know,
it
they get a
is
new
that-
car, sometime we're told, sometime we're not told.
Exactly.
In a disaster type of situation, if there are pets in there and the place is level,
Yeah.
what do we do? You know, it's, but anyway, I think the important part is to keep the face out of it and let's make this a unit issue.
Right,
And let's not make it so concise that we're worried about whether or not they've cleaned their filter on their air.
Thank
ooh,
you.
good one.
Yeah,
So,
not
yeah.
pulling it. I mean, maybe some things could be added to the form.
Right, well, when he was saying
I'm
pets,
not, I don't
you
agree
know,
with everything.
if you have something going on,
It's already there on the form, though, the
Yeah.
pets.
Yeah.
I didn't
Have you
look
seen
at
the
that.
form? Did you get one from Maggie? Did you
I've
look at the
lived here
existing-
before Maggie. I've lived here
I
since
know I
before all
filled
you
it out.
guys.
No, no, no.
It's on the,
on the web.
line, on the web.
I think that's where I got it on the web, because I've updated mine several times. All right, anyway, but
Let's set up,
I think somebody should look at it.
let's
See
put
what
that
would
on
be
the agenda
helpful.
as a motion that we put that ad hoc committee together. And we'll vote on it.
Okay.
John, can I just ask, sorry, before you adjourn, are we at director's comment yet?
Yeah, go ahead.
Newsletter. So I'm going to be meeting with John afterwards to check on the status of where our articles are at least the minimum articles from each of our key committees, and was wondering, John, are you going to be incorporating something about the hurricane as part of yours, or it's a separate part?
Well,
got some
probably,
pictures.
it all depends on what everybody else writes. You
Okay.
know, I don't want to be, you know, if Peter ends up wanting to
Okay.
write something about the hurricane. I don't want to write.
All right,
something
so we'll
about
wait till we get everybody's articles.
Yeah.
And we'll go like
the-
that.
if there's anything, I don't know how much we can hit more than costs for insurance and things of that nature in the upcoming budget. I was kind of thinking about writing about that, although it's negative.
Right,
It has to get out not only once, but maybe 14 times.
okay. So I mean, as far as the hurricane, I mean, I have a couple of pictures that I took
Yeah.
of you guys taking down that big tree.
Well, there's
I
a lot of
think
people
the
that have called me on
pictures-
the phone saying, what's it look like? Is my
Right.
place, well, it's my
And
place. that we take care of
recapping
it."
how many trees were
Yeah.
lost.
Well, I think
and things like that.
Lynn Corcoran and Chris did a good job of putting out little bulletins to
Yes.
everybody.
Yes.
And I've got a lot of positives on that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I said, gee, thank the IT committee for doing it.
Great job. Susan.
What little bulletins on what? I remember that during Irma.
Oh, no, there were several bulletins set out about exactly what happened and what was closed and when power is on to some places, not on. And Lynn Corcoran sent blast emails. Chris, was it blast emails and posting on the web, 2 blast emails?
Yes.
and web posts?
Yeah, we did both.
Okay, nobody knew about cluster use issue though until I emailed you all. That's why I did that. That was a fuse in the transformer box, not because we're on it, and we're not on a different grid.
No, we're good. That's the good news.
Right.
We would also encourage people to put photos on the website. There's a hurricane photo album, and we sent a link to that to everybody, and you can submit photos to that.
Excellent.
How about, however, like doing a lessons learned from the post-hurricane? Like, are we all comfortable with, could that be an ad hoc committee about, one of the things that, when we were looking at the operations manual, was there was a disaster preparedness committee. Now, because the committee, am I talking about the right thing, the operations manual? Because that's not been finalized, the revisions, there's still a disaster committee, right? That, which I still think is valuable. And it was not being re-included in the new proposed operations manual. But it's a group of people who just get together and go over lessons learned and
Critiquing.
so as a
Critiquing.
board member, I felt like I was in the dark about what goes on, what's part of the preparedness and whatnot.
Well, like
Which is why I triggered
John-
an email to you, John.
when you were saying, John said each one of the guys had one of the villages. That worked out great because a lot of people saw, except for the complainers, one person at each village. So, someone's working on a village, we're not forgotten. So that worked out really, really well.
Well, I knew somebody did
And-
the pools, but I was going around to just one cluster. People had plants hanging, furniture was not tied down, locked down, whatever you want to call it.
Oh,
So,
well,
I don't
and that's-
know.
Steve and I went around twice and the minute before the storm hit, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
and didn't see that much, really.
No, we
That's
went
probably
into
because I went through
every
my
single
cluster
front
already at that
court.
point.
Because we went on, I think it was Monday, and then just before everybody went
Tuesday,
home
yeah.
on Tuesday, we
On
did it
Tuesday.
again.
Because they said my shell's still up and it's like, that comes down.
You know,
My
how
whole
many
place is
trees,
gone.
things we
Right.
took down? I mean, was nobody
Turn
there?
tables over,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
chairs.
See, we don't, just not being aware of like what we could be doing or who's doing it.
I
Just
think formalizing it. a
was
little
making
bit
me
more.
antsy a little bit.
You know, what you guys did, I didn't expect, and that was great, but I think that like the cluster advisor should perhaps have gone around and done that.
Many of those aren't capable. of doing that.
Exactly.
I mean,
But
that's why
that's
we
okay,
did
but we
John
have-
and I mean,
Yeah.
Steve and I, and Jeff and John was
You-
involved. I mean, you know,
I went around and did it too. 'cause
Well,
I'm
that's
the
right.
only male
the
in the
reason
whole
why-
cluster. So
As a board member, I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if stuff does go wrong, it ends up costing us all money. You know, and to
Absolutely.
the extent we can all be of help in like knowing what procedures are and following up and making sure like we're, you know, we are a brother's keeper in a sense, or we're
And
watching out
also,
for them would
when-
be helpful.
And going on to what you're saying, we're each responsible for our units and our own house. John and Steve, they have other things that they should be worrying about, like the post disaster plan, who are we calling in this? Having insurance ready, having this ready, having that ready. They have a lot of other things that need to be done. And these are things that we as owners, homeowners should be taking care of and let them, worry about the more important things. I mean, we appreciate that, but that's a lot of on their shoulders. That doesn't necessarily
This is
have to
not to
be.
say that that you guys haven't done a great job.
You
we
have.
commend you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and the more we ask about, hey, what about this or that, you have an answer, you've handled it, which is tremendous. So we do appreciate.
I think
all
it
that
was
you
really
do.
well done. I think, in my estimation, I think what Barb may be talking about is a little more formalized. This is what will happen, bingo. And, each one of the clusters will be looked at for this type of thing by this guy. Could it be
Can I
that?
make a
cluster
Maybe each
by-
board member should
Yeah.
go around.
Well, I
check
think the
your
board members
clusters.
are National Guard, frankly.
That's
we
the
should be out
assumption I
looking.
did. I started looking at my cluster.
Well, I'm thinking,
No.
as part of the procedure, you gotta have some sort of system to have people reported or evacuating or not.
Oh, excellent. point.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
Because
um,
a lot of times people leave, you don't know that, so you think they're still there
Mhm.
and be like.
You'd be
oh,
surprised. I
You'd
think
be
we-
surprised. Most of the people
most
came in and
people-
told
I
us.
bet we had 40 people call us
Yeah.
and Laura put to the list.
No.
Wow.
Is
Yeah.
their water turned off? Is
Right,
their
exactly.
electricity turned
Yeah.
off? Is their electricity on?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this
What I would have
hurricane was
was
different than,
carports.
well,
the other
but you
hurricane that
don't
we
do this
had,
forever.
the other one that came through, where we had the tornado came right down Wildewood, the boulevard,
Well, I think we did a lot of things by osmosis type of thing, but frankly, I think it's just nice to know if we had checked things to do.
So what would be like a next step? Do we go back to Claire and say, hey, wait a minute, about this part of the operations manual, there was a disaster committee. Do we make sure that's back in there? What's the status with the operations manual?
Well, as I understand it, the committee took that committee away or advocated the removal of it because what the responsibility is on this chair here. And what I work with the crews, that's the reason that it was taken off. I mean, we've had 2 major storms and things have worked out very, very well with what's in place. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't take anybody who wants to be on the committee to do it, but to know. But right now, that was the reasoning they took it out. Roger, am I right or right?
I believe that's correct
Yeah.
because it fell under your responsibility.
Right.
But here's the thing about that. It puts a lot of responsibility on you
Well,
as opposed to
but that's where it's
having,
supposed to be.
as a,
I mean,
well,
you as a volunteer shouldn't have to have that.
it doesn't mean that it's not your responsibility in individual steps, but in terms of the structure on what should it encompass? What does disaster preparedness look like? And what structure should that be? And then individual response carrying it out is part
Yeah.
of your job or others.
Well, then I think that's for a committee to draw up those specifications.
Right.
I'd like to see what we saw with several of the the associations down Wildwood Spring Boulevard or whatever it is, where they had a lot of the owners coming out and cleaning up their own mess.
So everybody did that here.
And they did here.
Yeah.
And some of them did magnificent jobs, but the bottom line is that's truly an individual type thing. And it'd be nice if we could organize that. If something that was on the deal, let's see if we can have a day after these things to clean up. If so, where do you want it, John? That kind of thing. But those are things that we can work out if you have a plan. But I think it'd be nice to have a committee sit down and look at what we did right and what we did wrong, and then from there we decide where we go with it.
And second to that, what if John, you left tomorrow, not that I would want you to leave at all tomorrow, but how would you be able to tell the next person, here's your responsibilities as part of disaster preparedness? Because there's probably one line in your job spec that says, manage disasters, whatever. What does that mean, in the big realm of things, so.
Well,
That's where we're at.
I clearly understand it would be a disaster if I left.
And I've been meaning to talk about that right now.
So we-
No, I'll get inside.
I think
You
you're
make good
on the right
points. You make
point.
very good points.
Well, maybe
But I
that's
mean,
something we can
there's,
have.
but here's the thing,
People
like
who look at
anything
this,
else.
look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes,
part
there's-
two.
absolutely.
Part two of the ad hoc
there's
committee.
this, you can write down everything you want, and then there's the real world of what gets done and the responsibility of the person taking in the various jobs, whether it be the president, be the treasurer, be the assistant treasurer.
I'd be
whatever.
glad to delegate out some more.
Yeah. But I mean, you can have
You know,
everything
that's
that written down in
disaster,
the
yeah.
world, but if it's not done,
Yeah, you could
Because
have
you
each,
guys
uh,
are doing, if you're doing a lot of the work, then you have a lot of input into what could be delegated out to different people.
yeah, but those people gotta be there and ready to do things. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we know that's, we know our crew is dedicated enough to show up 5 minutes after the storm. We know our crew is dedicated enough to stay 5 minutes before the storm, even when they might have things to do at home to secure this property, and that's what happened. And so you could have a situation where you don't have that crew sometime too. It happened.
But it's also part of communication, right? Having a procedure is part of communication, that we're comfortable with everything, know everything that's being done to prepare. And that's gonna help minimize costs down the road for us, so.
Sure.
Okay.
Maybe we would have people complaining if they knew we're on top of this,
No.
All right, I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, you are trying to be
I
nice.
was complaining no matter what.
Well, that's true. However,
No, if they knew the
the
priority of how.
he
things
sent
are
that
managed
checklist
in
of
the
what he had done
Yeah.
and what had gotten accomplished. It's like they didn't have anything that they could whine about after that because he showed what has been accomplished.
I'll give a good example. When John, you CC'd us on about someone from Lakeside's complaint.
That's what I'm
and
talking
was
about.
being done.
Yeah.
And one of those things you said that they were complaining about was the fact that the lawn was being mowed to make us look pretty, when in fact, I'm 100% sure that the lawnmower has a mulch thing on it
Yeah.
that helps remove all that debris.
You're 100%
When
right.
you don't know that, you're thinking, oh yeah, we're making the lawn look pretty, But when you drive
Right.
down Wildewood Springs Boulevard, I'm like, oh man, but
I mean, and
This
what
is
was,
part of the cleanup.
exactly.
Chew up the little
Email you
ones.
sent out, I think should just be a norm in the future when we have these disasters. I think that calmed everything down.
Yeah.
We have those critics.
Well,
let's say.
Yeah.
Barbara's correct, communication.
Yeah.
Communication is
Hard
paramount
to
in
do.
anything.
But let's put that down if we had to do over again, what we do
Yeah.
differently.
I mean, actually, your response to that person was more informative for me to know what's going on. I
Right.
appreciate that.
Right.
The fact that they were complaining I thought it was that was nasty, and I don't think people should do that.
The interesting thing about that was that one of those individuals was in the office earlier in the morning complimenting what was going on. That's why it came kind of hit you between the eyes when it happened later.
Oh, boy.
But goes with the territory.
Okay.
All right, got any owners' comments? Anybody left? Any other director? Okay, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this.
Well, we have to end this meeting and go to an executive session and
Okay.
turn off, have Chris turn off the recording.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Mayor,
turn off the
come for
camera.
adjournment?
Okay.
Good one, folks.
Okay.
Wait, I would like to say something. I would like to compliment John and Steve and all of the crew and everyone who pitched in to make this cleanup so remarkable. Because it was a terrible storm, a Hurricane 5 category almost. And
Thank you.
look how we have survived with almost 20% of the amount of money we paid last time for the smaller hurricane tornado. So good work, everyone.
you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
And thanks for the lunch you bought the fruit.
You did? Sure.
Oh, well, that's the owner's buy lunches.
Really?
Okay.
I haven't even seen the cruise, so I don't know.
They're still working.
Need a motion to
I don't think, no, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. See you all next week.
We're adjourned, but the director's.
Yeah, I want to direct